Well, cheers and how do you do, Buckaroos? How the heck are you? And Merry Christmas. If you don't celebrate Christmas, Happy Holidays. I am a Christian, but I'm not a militant one. I grew up to say Happy Holidays. I've never understood why people get their knickers in and out about that. I really don't. Not everybody celebrates Christmas, man. Somebody says Happy Holidays, Happy Hanukkah. What does it matter to you? I mean, yeah, it seems to me if you're getting upset about something that small, you don't get the spirit of Christmas at all. But anyway, hey, I've got a beer for you. The CBS. I'm about a week late on this, I know, because I refuse to stand in line for special releases. I won't do it. I won't do it. I love craft beer, but I'm not a poser craft beer drinker. I think folks that are standing in line for these releases are 90% poser drinkers. Anyways, that being said, this is 11% CBS from Founders Canadian Breakfast Stout. Imperial style brewed with chocolate and coffee aged in maple syrup, bourbon barrels. You know, it's funny. For some reason, I always thought this was, I know it used maple syrup, but for some reason, I thought it used a Canadian whiskey barrels because, you know, the Kentucky breakfast stout is because of the bourbon barrels. So I always assumed the Canadian meant the whiskey, but no, they're referring to the maple syrup. Of course, I don't know why it couldn't be Vermont maple syrup, and they can still call it CBS Colonial Breakfast Stout. But anyway, that aside, so chocolate, what does that say? Chocolate, coffee, aged in maple syrup, bourbon barrels. Yeah, you know what? It's been a long time since I've had this. It's probably been, I don't know, maybe 2011. My recollection is a little fuzzy, but I haven't purchased it in a while. And I only bought it this time because, again, much like the same way I purchased the BCBS, is that I went into one of the stores on my route the following week, and they had one sitting on the counter. I asked him what he was getting for it. He said, "What do you want to pay for it?" I said $20. So he sold it to him for $20 plus tax. I'm not going to mention the store because in that area, I think in every area actually, but I know for a fact in that area that they had a suggested retail price of 25, which I found out later was about a 45% markup. Most of the stores put about a 30%. Some of the larger volume stores put 25, but for whatever reason they wanted a larger markup on this. That way they wanted to get everybody on a level playing field. I have this a little bit colder than it needs to be, in all honesty. I had it in the fridge. I took it out of the fridge. I let it sit about 15 minutes before I opened it, and I popped it. I took some pictures, and I started the video here. But I can tell it's still a little colder than it needs to be. The aromas will really open up on a beer like this. Well, actually, most beers, but especially this style, once it warms up. It probably ought to be at about 55 to 60. Right now, I've probably got it closer to about between 45 to 50. Pours with a nice head. I'm certainly feeling some chocolate and coffee on the nose right now, but I'm sure I'll get more as she goes. But I'm just going to take a drink. Oh gosh, a lot of coffee, a little bit of chocolate and some caramel at first, a little bit of chocolate caramel, and then it breaks into some big coffee notes. I am feeling that maple syrup. It kind of starts to weave its way in, but you really feel it right in the finish. Sometimes I like to start beers like this that I know should be drank at about 55 to 60, a little bit colder, just because I personally like to feel the evolution. In many cases, they're better warmer, but some in the aromas tend to get bigger and the flavors melt together better as it warms. But sometimes you'll get flavors colder that you don't get as it warms. So I kind of like to check it out. And sometimes what you typically get are the flavors are sharper when it's cold. Then as it warms up, the flavors kind of meld together. But sometimes I just like to feel that difference. You know what I mean? I'm feeling that oak now. I didn't feel the oak initially, but as I let that sit on my palate and wait a few seconds before I took the next drink, then I'm starting to feel that oak. I'm kind of iffy, not necessarily on this beer, but on the use of maple syrup. I've had some beers that were just terrible, and I've had some that were just outstanding. I think it's in how you use maple syrup. Here it just says maple syrup barrels. So you do feel that. Sometimes they become too cloyingly sweet. I need that that maple, for me anyway, to dry up at the end. I've noticed as I've gotten older, I'm more sensitive to sweet. I don't like. I'm not a fan of a lot of these novelty beers that are very sweet. That being said, this is nice. Do I think it's $25 a bottle nice? To be honest, for me, no. For me, I wouldn't pay 25. I wouldn't pay 20 multiple times. But I mean, if I'm lucky enough to find it sitting on a counter next year for $20, yeah, I'll purchase it. I mean, I felt the same way about the BCBS. I mean, I paid 12 for it. It was 11.99. I paid 12 for it. Um, but I wouldn't pay 15. There's a store that still has a couple bottles for about 15. For me, it's not a $15 16-ounce beer. For me, everybody's got to do what they want to do. But for me, there's just other options. When I see these other options out there, when I see a 4-pack for $16 of a barrel aged beer, it's hard for myself to justify paying $16 for a 16-ounce bottle when I can get 48 ounces for the same price. But it is. I am glad about the BCBS because it's the first time I'd had it since 2015, and the 2015 was just horrendous, by the way. But this year's what was good, and I'm glad I purchased this because it's the first time I've had it. I'm thinking 2011 was the last time, but I can't remember exactly, to be honest with you. Oh gosh. It's an exquisite beer. It is. It's nice. Again, I was feeling it sweeter early on as I've let this warm over about the 7 minutes I've done this video. I can really feel. See, it has to be sweet or cold. That oak really kicks in as it warms up. The flavors kind of melt together. Now I'm getting more aroma too. I was getting some chocolate. I was getting some coffee, but it was kind of muted. But now I'm really getting coffee as a dominant aroma. There's some chocolate there, certainly. I'm getting some caramel, some maple notes. I'm feeling a hint of that oak. There's some vanilla, very light, that kind of flows through it all as well. Mm, good gravy, that's tasty. Yeah, again, I probably should have let it warm up a little bit, but like I said, sometimes I like to feel the changes. I am feeling that oak much more the warmer it gets. And I like how it dries it up. I've had some maple beers that use maple that it just gets too cloyingly sweet. And what stops that from doing that, what stops this beer from doing that is the oak. It really helps dry it up. But you got to have that right amount or it's going to get too sweet on you, folks. It just is. Mm. Beautiful. Yeah, it's a great beer. I mean, listen, you decide what a price is worth to you. Is it probably worth the 25? From a quality standpoint, I'm going to say, yeah, it's worth whatever you want to pay for it. It is a quality beer. If you think this is a collector's item for you, you want to give it a shot, absolutely. I'm just saying, for me, for my money, there are so many other choices. I don't want to pay 25, but I will say it's absolutely worth the 25 because it is just that good. Again, though, I'm confused about the Canadian. Though I get it. Maybe they use Canadian maple syrup. I don't know, but they don't specify that here on the bottle. Maybe they do on the website. But I know Vermont's also known for maple syrup. You know, so why can't it be a colonial breakfast stout? Because it doesn't use Canadian whiskeys. It's the whiskey part that's throwing me off, right? What makes it Canadian? Well, we use maple syrup. Well, we have maple syrup here, man. Anyways, I know it's a small thing, but that's how my mind works. So anyway, yeah, I'm Tom the Beer Whisperer. I drink beer and I say Steph. BeerVangelist, prolific beer drinker, purveyor of wisdom, and oh, that's nice. The aromas are really coming to life now. Change hands here. All around, good guy. You all have a good one, and Merry Christmas to you.